The alarm rings. 6:30 in the morning. You open your eyes, and the first thing you feel isn't energy. It's exhaustion. You slept for 7 hours, maybe 8. But somehow, you feel like you didn't sleep at all. You reach for your phone. Then coffee. Maybe another coffee an hour later. You tell yourself, I'll feel better after breakfast. But you don't. By noon, your brain feels slow. By 3, you're fighting to keep your eyes open. And by night, you're exhausted. So you finally crawl into bed. You close your eyes and tell yourself, tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow comes, and the exact same thing happens again. So what if the problem isn't that you're not trying hard enough? What if your body has been trying to tell you something for a very long time? Let's call him Alex. Alex isn't lazy. He has a job, responsibilities, bills, people depending on him. And every morning, he does what millions of people do. He gets out of bed, even though every part of him wants to stay there. He showers, gets dressed, and walks into the kitchen. Then comes the first rescue attempt. Coffee. That first sip feels almost magical. For a little while, the fog disappears. His brain wakes up. His body feels normal. And Alex thinks, there we go. But what he doesn't realize is that coffee isn't creating energy. It's changing how his brain perceives tiredness. Caffeine blocks receptors for a chemical called adenosine. Adenosine builds up while you're awake and contributes to sleepiness. Caffeine temporarily interferes with that signal, so Alex feels more awake. But the underlying need for recovery hasn't magically disappeared, and that's where the story begins. By 10 a.m., Alex is working. Emails, meetings, messages, deadlines. One screen becomes 2, 2 becomes 3. His body barely moves. He sits for hours, and something strange happens. He's doing almost no physical activity, yet he feels completely drained. Because exhaustion doesn't always come from physical work. Your brain consumes enormous amounts of energy, and modern life gives it almost no silence. Every notification demands attention. Every message creates another decision. Every unfinished task stays somewhere in the back of your mind. Alex might be sitting at a desk, but mentally, he's running a marathon. When your brain constantly senses pressure, your body can remain in a state of heightened alertness. That can make it harder to relax, harder to sleep, and harder to recover. So by lunchtime, Alex is already tired, but the day isn't even halfway over. It's 2:47 p.m. Alex stares at his screen. He reads the same sentence 3 times. Nothing sticks. His eyes feel heavy. His motivation disappears. And then he reaches for another coffee, maybe an energy drink, maybe something sugary. For a moment, he feels better. But this is where the cycle becomes dangerous. When you repeatedly use stimulants to push through exhaustion, you can end up hiding the signal instead of fixing the cause. And if caffeine is consumed too late in the day, it can interfere with sleep later that night. So Alex gets through the afternoon, but he may be borrowing energy from tomorrow, and tomorrow will come with interest. Finally, it's 10:30 p.m. Alex is exhausted. He tells himself, tonight I'm going to sleep early. But then he picks up his phone. One video, then another, then another. Suddenly it's 11:30, midnight, 12:30. The room is dark, but his brain is still receiving information. And the problem isn't simply the screen itself. It's everything happening around it. Bright light, constant stimulation, emotional content, work messages, endless scrolling. A brain that was supposed to be winding down is still being asked to pay attention. Eventually, Alex puts the phone down, closes his eyes, and falls asleep. But here's the important part. Being in bed for 8 hours doesn't automatically guarantee restorative sleep. Sleep quality matters, and sleep can be disrupted by stress, an inconsistent schedule, environmental factors, medications, alcohol, and sleep disorders such as sleep apnea. Sometimes you can spend hours in bed without getting the recovery your body actually needs. 6:30 a.m. The alarm rings again. Alex opens his eyes, and there it is, that familiar feeling, exhaustion. He doesn't understand. I slept all night, but his body doesn't feel rested, so he blames himself. Maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe I just need more motivation. Maybe everyone feels like this. But imagine something. What if Alex isn't failing? What if his body is simply responding to everything happening around it? Poor recovery, constant stress, too little movement, irregular sleep, too much stimulation, and possibly something medical that hasn't been identified, because fatigue isn't a diagnosis. It's a symptom, and symptoms have causes. This is where we need to stop blaming lifestyle for everything, because sometimes persistent fatigue has a medical cause. Iron deficiency and anemia can cause tiredness. Thyroid problems can affect energy. Certain infections can leave people exhausted. Some medications can cause drowsiness or fatigue. Sleep disorders can prevent proper recovery. And conditions such as diabetes can also be associated with fatigue. There are many possibilities, and that's exactly why guessing can be dangerous. Taking random supplements, drinking more energy drinks, sleeping all weekend, or simply telling yourself to try harder may not solve the real problem. If you're tired occasionally, that's normal. But if you're exhausted for weeks, if it's getting worse, or if it's interfering with your ability to work, think, exercise, or live normally, that's different. Your body may deserve a closer look. So what can Alex do? He starts with the basics, not a miracle supplement, not a magical morning routine, not another energy drink. He starts creating consistency. He gives himself a regular sleep schedule. He makes his bedroom darker and quieter. He gets daylight during the day. He moves his body regularly. He takes breaks from sitting. He pays attention to what he's eating. He stops using caffeine as a replacement for sleep. And most importantly, he listens to his body. If the fatigue continues, he talks to a healthcare professional. Because sometimes the smartest thing you can do isn't searching for another productivity hack. It's finding out why you're exhausted in the first place. The next morning, the alarm rings. But this time, imagine Alex doesn't immediately reach for his phone. He doesn't reach for coffee. He stops for a second and asks himself, what is my body trying to tell me? Because being tired isn't always weakness. It isn't always laziness. And it isn't something you should automatically accept as normal. Sometimes your body needs sleep. Sometimes it needs movement. Sometimes it needs better habits. And sometimes it needs medical attention. The next time you wake up exhausted, don't just ask, how do I get more energy? Ask the question that matters more. Why am I losing it? Because your body has been talking to you all along. You just have to learn how to listen.